Whiskers, and the endless horizon. In the quaint coastal village of Saltmarsh, where the sea whispered secrets to the cliffs and the sun painted golden paths across the waves, lived a young tabby cat named Whiskers. Whiskers was no ordinary feline. His fur was a swirl of russet and cream, like autumn leaves caught in a breeze, and his emerald eyes sparkled with a curiosity that knew no bounds. But beneath that adventurous spirit lay a shadow of doubt. You see, Whiskers dreamed of crossing the great horizon, a vast, shimmering expanse of ocean that separated Saltmarsh from the legendary Isle of Echoes, where it was said that the winds carried the songs of ancient cats who had conquered impossible feats. Every dawn, as the fishermen mended their nets and the gulls cried overhead, Whiskers would perch on the jagged rocks at the village's edge. He'd watch the horizon, a thin blue line where sky kissed sea, and feel a pang in his chest. One day, he'd murmur to the waves, "I'll leap across that endless blue and find my echo." But the other cats in the village, wise old tabbies with notched ears from too many scrapes, and sleek Siamese lounging in sun-warmed baskets, laughed at his folly. "Foolish kitten," they'd scoff, flicking their tails dismissively. "The horizon devours dreamers. Stick to chasing mice in the alleys? That's where real cats thrive." Whiskers' heart ached with their words, but it also burned brighter. He was small, barely out of kittenhood, with paws that trembled at the thought of the unknown. The sea was merciless, storms that howled like vengeful spirits, currents that pulled like greedy claws, and sharks with grins wider than a full moon. Yet every night, under the starlit sky, Whiskers would curl up in his cozy nook beneath the old lighthouse and whisper to himself, "What if? What if I could be the cat who sails beyond the waves? What if my echo joins the chorus on the isle?" With paws steadying against the doubt that clawed at his mind, he dragged his makeshift raft to the water's edge. The village cats gathered, their eyes wide with a mix of pity and scorn. "Turn back, Whiskers," meowed Luna, the eldest tabby, her voice like gravel. "Dreams are for sleeping, not drowning." But Whiskers met her gaze, his emerald eyes fierce. "Dreams are for living," he replied, his voice a steady purr against the crash of waves. "And if I sink, at least I'll know I tried." With a mighty shove, he launched into the surf. The cold water slapped his fur like icy tongues, and the first wave nearly capsized him. Salt stung his eyes, and fear whispered that the others were right. He was just a kitten playing at heroism. But then a memory flickered. His mother, long gone to the stars, teaching him to climb the lighthouse steps one paw at a time. "Small steps conquer mountains, my little spark," she'd said. Clinging to that, Whiskers paddled on. The first day blurred into a haze of relentless effort. His muscles screamed as he battled swells that towered like giants, and hunger gnawed at him like a persistent flea. By nightfall, as bioluminescent plankton lit the water like 1,000 fireflies, exhaustion pulled at his eyelids. The horizon seemed no closer. It mocked him, stretching eternally. "Why bother?" the wind seemed to taunt. "You're alone, small, forgotten." In that darkest hour, adrift under a canopy of indifferent stars, Whiskers remembered why he'd started. It wasn't for glory or the Isle's songs. It was for the fire inside, the unquenchable itch to chase what called to his soul. One more paw, he meowed to the night. One more wave. He thought of the village cats, safe but stagnant, their lives a loop of sun and shadow. He didn't want that. Motivation, he realized, wasn't about never falling. It was about rising with whiskers dripping, eyes alight, ready for the next leap. Dawn broke with a fury. A storm rolled in, black clouds unleashing rain like arrows. Lightning cracked the sky, and thunder roared its challenge. Whiskers' raft splintered under the assault, vines snapping like brittle bones. He tumbled into the froth, paws flailing, heart pounding a war drum. Sharks circled below, their fins slicing the chaos like knives. Panic clawed up his throat, but he forced it down. "Swim," he commanded himself, "for the echo, for the you who dared." With every stroke, he summoned visions of triumph. The Isle's cliffs blooming with wildflowers, the wind carrying melodies of cats who'd whispered, "I did it." His small body, battered and brine-soaked, became a vessel of pure will. He dodged a fin by inches, clawed onto a floating plank from his raft, and rode the storm's edge like a surfer on a wild stallion. Hours blurred into eternity, but the fire in his chest grew, fueled by each defiant breath. As the storm relented, painting the sky in bruised purples and golds, a shadow loomed ahead, not menace but mercy, the Isle of Echoes. Its cliffs rose like emerald sentinels, waves gentling at their feet. Whiskers washed ashore, collapsing in a heap of sodden fur and trembling limbs. But as he lay there, gasping, a chorus rose, not from the wind, but from within. His own echo, faint at first, then strong. "You crossed the horizon. You are the cat who dreamed and did." Word of Whiskers' feat spread like wildfire back to Saltmarsh. The village cats, once mockers, now gazed at the sea with newfound hunger. Luna, the wise one, led them to the rocks, her tail high. "He showed us," she admitted, "that motivation isn't in the destination, it's in the daring to launch." Whiskers stayed on the Isle for moons, learning its songs and sharing his tale with wide-eyed kittens. But he never forgot the lesson etched into his paws. The greatest horizons aren't out there in the blue. They're the ones we cross within, one determined stroke at a time. And whenever doubt crept in, he'd simply look to the sea and purr, "What if? Let's find out." From that day on, Whiskers wasn't just a cat. He was a legend. A whiskered whisper reminding every soul that motivation is the quiet roar that turns kittens into conquerors. And if you listen closely on a windy night by the coast, you might hear his echo still. Leap, friends. The horizon awaits.